Welcome back to another class on Dalat Amot shel Halacha. En lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu be'olamo ela arba'a Amot shel Halacha bilvad. In today's Chazar program, we're going to be dealing with part 31, and we're going to start a new part 32. Since they are connected, we're going to go over part 31. We started speaking about, as a review, Rabotai, in point number 1 on part 31, is it permissible for one Jew to tell another Jew on Motzei Shabbat to do malacha for him? And also, what happens if that malacha is from the Torah? And can he benefit from that malacha, even though for me it's still Shabbat? So we explained, Mutar lomar lechaveru shekvar hivdil b'motzei Shabbat lasot lo malacha. It is permissible to say to your friend that already did Havdalah on Motzei Shabbat to do malacha for you. Now it doesn't matter if that malacha is from the Torah or not. It could be any form of malacha. So let's say Reuven and Shimon, two friends. Reuven went ahead and he took out Shabbat and he already did Havdalah. However, Shimon, he still did not take out Shabbat and he didn't do Havdalah. Can Shimon tell Reuven to cook him a nice dish? Can Shimon tell Reuven to make shish kebab for him? The Halacha is going to tell us he's allowed to tell him to do it. And not only that, Shimon would be able to benefit from that malacha, whatever Reuven is doing for him, immediately right away. So that was the first point. Point number 2, V'chein hadin legoy. The same halacha is going to apply with a non-Jew. Even though if the person himself did not say Havdalah on Motzei Shabbat, for him it's still Shabbat. But since it's already Motzei Shabbat, and even though he didn't do that Havdalah, he is allowed to go ahead and tell a goy to do malacha for him. It doesn't matter. Even if the malacha is not a mitzvah purpose, even if the malacha is from the Torah, and not only that, I'm going to be able to benefit from whatever malacha the non-Jew is going to do for me. Because remember, over here this guy has no mitzvah of keeping Shabbat. Over here we had a friend that did Havdalah on Motzei Shabbat. If I'm allowed to tell him, how much more so I'm able to tell the non-Jew. So it comes out over here that if you have a person who keeps Shabbat and he didn't do Havdalah on Motzei Shabbat immediately, and then you're dealing with a person who already did Havdalah on Motzei Shabbat, or even a non-Jew, can that guy that's still keeping Shabbat and didn't do Havdalah tell his friend who did Havdalah on Motzei Shabbat or a non-Jew to do malacha for them? Absolutely. Can he benefit from the work that they are doing for him after Shabbat came out? Absolutely, it is not a problem. Point number 3. V'chein mutar lemi shenohek Rabbeinu Tam. And so it is permissible for one who behaves like Rabbeinu Tam, lomar lechad shenohek kemo geonim. He's able to go ahead and tell somebody who behaves like the opinion of the geonim. La'asot lo malacha, that he can do work for him. Umutar lehenot me'oto malacha. And he's also allowed to go ahead and benefit from that work. Comes out of here. This you might think is identical. They're not identical cases. Why? Because over here, this guy might have been holding like the time of the Geonim. So each one is holding like the time of the Geonim. So good. So really for him Shabbat is out from the Torah. It's only on a rabbinical level. That since he didn't do Havdalah, that's why he cannot do any malacha. But he's able to tell his friend to do malacha. However, Rabotai, over here we're dealing with a little bit different case. Over here you have two people. You have Reuven and you have Shimon. Reuven holds the time of Rabbeinu Tam. Shimon holds the time of the Geonim. Rabotai, if Shimon holds the time of the Geonim, let's say Shabbat is out at 7 p.m. For Reuven, really, when does Rabbeinu come out? At 7:30 p.m. So really, it's not a question that he didn't get a chance to do Havdalah. Like we were speaking about this case. It's not that he didn't get a chance to do Havdalah. Even if he wanted to do Havdalah, he can't. Why? Because he holds Rabbeinu Tam. So him really, he is stringent. So you would have thought to say maybe in this situation where a person holds Rabbeinu Tam and he's telling a person that holds like the Geonim, maybe it's Asur because for him it's really Shabbat. But over here in this earlier case, this guy could have done Havdalah, it's just he didn't want to do it yet, or he didn't get a chance to do it yet. So over there we're going to say, since they're both are on the Geonim level, let me just say this like this. I'm going to raise the case of the non-Jew. Here, let's do a different color. In this case, I would have told you like this. Reuven holds like the Geonim. Shimon also holds like the Geonim. So therefore, I really don't have a problem with them, with one of them telling the other to do Malacha, as long as one of them did Havdalah. Because for them, Shabbat is out, to both of them is out by 7 o'clock. It's just what? Reuven did Havdalah. Whereas Shimon did not do Havdalah. He didn't do Havdalah. So over here, since really Shabbat is out, it's only on the rabbinical level, so you have to say that's why Shimon is allowed to tell Reuven to do Malacha for him after Shabbat came out, since he already did Havdalah. But maybe for a person like in our situation, where Reuven holds Rabbeinu Tam, and Shimon holds like the Geonim, for him Shabbat is still in. It didn't come out. He can't even do Havdalah, even if he wanted to. Over here, Shimon could have done Havdalah. It's just he didn't get a chance to do it for whatever reason. Comes Rav David Yosef Shludan, he tells us, V'chen mutar limi shonahek Rabbeinu Tam, lomar lecha shonahek kimo hageonim, la'asot lo malacha. So therefore, it's permissible for one who holds like Rabbeinu Tam to say to one who holds like the Geonim to do malacha for him on Motzei Shabbat, as long as this person who holds like the Geonim did Havdalah. Umutar lehenot me'oto malacha, and he's also able to go ahead and benefit from that malacha. Now, Rabotai, I want to read this halacha inside, a very important halacha. The other two we did in part 31. This one I did not do it. Let me do it right now. So comes Rav David Yosef Shlitan, he says, V'chen mutar, and so too it is permissible. L'mishin izhar b'motzei Shabbat shelo la'asot malacha, to one who is careful on Motzei Shabbat not to do any malacha, ad sheyavru sha'a v'chamishit ha'sha'a achar shkid hachama, until an hour and 12 minutes have passed after sunset, kishitat Rabbeinu Tam v'Shulchan Aruch, like the opinion of Rabbeinu Tam and the Shulchan Aruch, lomar lechaver shenohek kishitat hageonim, to tell his friend who behaves like the opinion of the Geonim, la'akel b'yitziat Shabbat, to be lenient in the coming out of the Shabbat, sheyaseh avuro malacha, that he should tell, that he can tell him to do malacha for him. Afilu kishe'en tzorich mitzvah bedavar, even if there isn't a mitzvah for this malacha, va'afilu hi malacha she'asur la'asot b'Shabbat min Torah, even if that's malacha which is forbidden to be done on Shabbat from the Torah, umutar lo lehenot be'oto sha'a me'oto malacha she'na'aset avuro. It is permissible for him to benefit from that malacha at that moment, which was done for him. So we see clearly over here of David Yosef Shultai is telling us that if you have a person who holds like Rabbeinu Tam, which is an hour and 12 minutes after sunset, and then you have another person who holds like the Geonim, where they're being lenient in taking out the Shabbat, nevertheless, the person who holds like the Rabbeinu Tam is allowed to go ahead and tell the person who holds like the Geonim that he should do malacha for him. Even though this malacha is not for the sake of a mitzvah. And not only that, even if this malacha that I'm telling him right now to do, it will be asur to do it on Shabbat from the Torah. Now we're going to tell you it is permissible, since for him Shabbat is already out. And not only that, and he adds a very important point, umutar lo lehanot be'oto sha'a me'oto malacha she'naset avuro. It is permissible for him to get benefit at that moment from that malacha which was done on his behalf. Now, Rabotai, all this was speaking about in a situation where the person did not do Havdalah. Now we want to move into today's class, in part 32 of the class, and we want to see what happens if a person went ahead and he did Havdalah. Now, there's 3 different ways how a person can do Havdalah. The first way a person can do Havdalah is in Shemona Esrei by saying Ata Chonantanu. The second way a person can do Havdalah is by saying Baruch Hamavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. The third way a person can do Havdalah is on the kos shel yain, on the cup of wine that we do on a Motzei Shabbat. Those are the three ways. Now, here we go, Rabotai. In part 31, we were speaking about situations where one person did the Havdalah and the other person didn't do the Havdalah. In part 32, we're going to speak about what happens if the person himself did the Havdalah. What is the best possible way to go about the situation? Is it enough just to say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol? Or is it enough just to say Atachon Ontanu? What are the requirements for us to start to begin doing Malacha on Motzei Shabbat after we said the Baruch HaMavdil blessing? So let's see this, Rabotai, inside. Malacha achar amirat Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. Doing Malacha after saying the words Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. Basically what it means to say is that blessed is Hashem, the one who separates between the Kadosh, between the holy day and the mundane day. We begin in today's class, first point. Im amar b'motzei Shabbat achar tzeta kochavim kodem Havdalah Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. If a person said on Motzei Shabbat, after the stars came out, before the Havdalah, Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol, if you said that statement, Mutar lasot malacha la'achar miken, you're allowed to go ahead and do malacha afterwards. Va'afilu malacha ha'asura b'Shabbat min Torah. You are even allowed to do malacha, which is asur to do on Shabbat, from the Torah. Now, Rabotai, remember, this is very important to pick up on. 3 ways to do Havdalah. Way number 1, Atachon Ontanu. Way number 2, Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. Way number 3, to do the Havdalah on the cup of wine. So comes Rav David Yosef Shuta and he tells us like this, that if after Motzei Shabbat, when the 3 stars came out, before you were going to go ahead and do the Havdalah on the cup of wine, you went ahead and you said these words, Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol, Rav David Yosef Shlita tells us, you are allowed to go ahead and do Malacha right after those words. And not only that, you could even do Malacha, which is Asura from the Torah. For example, you're allowed to cook, you're allowed to trap, you're allowed to stitch, you're allowed to do a lot of Malachot, which are from the Torah without any question. So this is point number 1. The Amirat, the saying of Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol, will allow a person to go ahead and do Malacha on Motzei Shabbat once the stars came out. Point number 2. Uladat Rabim meharishonim umaran HaShulchan Aruch. According to many opinions of the Rishonim, the earlier rabbis, and Maran the Shulchan Aruch, yesh lahakel la'asot malacha achar amirat Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. One can be lenient after he said the words Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol when it comes to start to do malacha. Afilu im adayin lo hitpalel aravit. Even if you still did not pray aravit, v'lo amar atachon ontanu b'tefillah, and you did not say atachon ontanu in your Shemna Esrei. Rabotai, I want you guys to pay very close attention to this. Point number 2, in short, what he's saying is like this. Ze kula, Rabotai, by saying Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol prior to davening Shemona Esrei, because in the Shemona Esrei you have Atachon Ontanu, you should know that this is a leniency. Saying Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol is a leniency to allow you to do Malacha afterwards. Rabotai, it is very important to note, because as we'll see that, I'm not going to tell you that this is asur, we'll see that this is halachically permissible. But pay close attention, it's a leniency. Again, a lot of the Rishonim allow you, the Shulchan Aruch allows you, no problem. But understand one thing also, the best possible way to go ahead and do it is really when you say Atachon Antanu, as we'll see Be'ezrat Hashem, when you say Atah Chonantanu, and then you say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, or if you do Havdalah on a cup of wine, those are the best possible ways to go ahead and do Malacha right afterwards. Actually, according to the Zohar, this is how you should go actually. You should say Atah Chonantanu in the Shemona Esrei, then you want to say the Kiddush the Sidra, the Kadosh, 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 and afterwards, Rabotai, you want to do the Havdalah on a cup of wine. That is actually the best way. You want to be able to get all opinions inside. Nevertheless, Rabotai, we're going to see what the Halacha says, and then we'll see what the stringency is. So one more time. Ulada'at Rabim HaRishonim. According to many opinions of the earlier rabbis, Umaran HaShulchan Aruch and Maran the Shulchan Aruch, Yesh Lahakel. I'm emphasizing that word. One can be lenient. La'asot malacha, to do malacha, achar amirat Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, after he said the words Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, afil im adayin lo hitpalel Aravit, even if you still did not pray Aravit, v'lo amar atah chonantanu b'tifiloto, and you did not say atah chonantanu in your Shemona Esrei prayer of Aravit. V'chein, and so too, im hitpalel Aravit, if a person went ahead and he davened Aravit, Ve'amar atah chonantanu, and he said atah chonantanu. Basically, he did Havdalah in Shemona Esrei. Ve'amar atah chonantanu b'tifiloto. Rashai lasot malacha. He's allowed to go ahead and do malacha. Afilu lo amar la'achar miken Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. Even if you didn't say afterwards Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. Comes Rav David Yosef Shlita and he tells you V'chein halacha. This is going to be the halacha, Rabotai. That if a person went ahead and he did not daven Shemona Esrei and he said Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, it's a leniency. You're allowed to go ahead and do malacha after saying this statement. Nevertheless, Rabotai, what happens if a person davened Shemona Esrei and he only said Im Amar Atah Chonantanu b'Tefillah? You said Atah Chonantanu, basically you did Havdalah in Shemona Esrei. Rashai la'asod malacha afilo lo amar Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. Even though you didn't say the words Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, still we're going to tell you you're allowed to go ahead and do the malacha. So this is going to be halacha, Rabotai. Either one that you're going to get in, either you're going to say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, or either you're going to daven Shemona Esrei without saying Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. Either one will allow you to go ahead and do malachot from the Torah afterwards. Nevertheless, continues Rav David Yosef Shlita and he says, "V'amachmir shelo la'asod malacha." But one who is stringent not to do malacha, והמחמיר שלא לעשות מלאכה עד אקר שיבדיל בתפילתו ויאמר אתה חוננתנו וגם יאמר ברוך המבדיל בין קודש לחול. However, comes Rav David Yosef Shlita and he says one who wants to be stringent not to do any malacha until he first does Havdalah in the Shemona Esrei by saying Atah Chonantanu, and also afterwards he should go ahead and say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, or Ad Achar Sheyavdil Alakos, or if he shouldn't do any malacha until he's going to do Havdalah on a cup of wine, if he's going to be stringent on himself like this, Tavo Alav Beracha. He says over here that may blessings come upon him. One of the funny things is we're always running and we're always looking for blessings. Rabotai, if you daven Shemona Esrei and you say Atah Chonantanu, and then right after Shemona Esrei or after you finish the prayer of Aravit, all you got to do is just add those words Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. Tavo Alav Berach. Hashem is going to shower you with blessings. We can't have blessings coming to us without doing anything, Rabotai, by simple mitzvot. But what do we do, Rabotai? We don't learn, so we don't know. So then we run around always looking for sigulot. Anyway, so here we go, Rabotai. Point number 4. Hamachmir shelo la'asod malacha. One who's going to be stringent, not to do any work. Or ad she'amar atah chonantanu. 1 second. No, 1 second. Give me 1 second, guys. This doesn't belong over here. One more time. Hamachmir shelo lasod malacha. If a person is stringent not to do any form of work, ad shamar ata chonontanu, until he said ata chonontanu im baruch hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. If you're going to go ahead and you're going to use these two things, you're going to daven Shemona Esrei and you're going to say ata chonontanu in your Shemona Esrei, and afterwards, Rabotai, after you already finished the Aravit prayer, you're going to go ahead and you're going to say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. Now, a lot of us, we feel that when we do Atah Chonontanu, right, we could go ahead and do Malacha. A lot of people, especially on Amot Shabbat, run out already with cigarettes. That's a Malacha, the Oraita. Good, you're allowed to do, halachically speaking, they're fine. But what is it going to cause them, Rabotai, before they light that cigarette, to go ahead and say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, try to get this opinion inside, and now tavo alav beracha. All right, Rabotai. So this is what we're saying over here. Hamachmir shelo lasod malacha ad she'amar ata chonontanu im baruch hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. One is going to be stringent not to do malacha until he's going to say in the Shemona Esrei ata chonontanu, and plus he's going to say baruch hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol after davening, or ad acher sheyavdil alakos, or somebody's going to be stringent not to do any malacha until he's going to do Havdalah on a cup of wine. Comes Rav David Yosef that he says, Tavo alav beracha. May blessings come upon him. So you see, Rabotai, right over there. If a person wants to go ahead and do malacha, the best possible way, that's either to do Havdalah on a cup of wine, or that's either to say Atah Chonontanu in Shemona Esrei with Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol after you completed your davening of the evening prayer. But Rabotai, make no mistake, what we're speaking about over here is Kol Ze Le'inyan Malacha. All this is in regards to doing malacha. V'lo Le'inyan Achila. We're not speaking about eating. I'm not telling you right now that if you went ahead and you did Havdalah on a cup of wine, Tavala Baracha, that's only when it comes to malacha. But when it comes to Achila, Rabotai, we'll see that you also first have to daven. Be'ezrat Hashem, Rabotai, we'll see this in the following classes. So we see from over here that one who wants to be stringent and get the both opinions in of saying Atah Chonontanu and Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, or he's going to do Havdalah on a cup of wine, Tavo Alav Baracha. All this, what I'm saying now, Rabotai, is in regards to malacha and not in regards to eating. One more important halacha we're going to see right now. V'tzarich kol adam lahazir et ishto ubenotav. Every single person needs to warn his wife and his daughters. She'im enam makpidot l'palel aravit b'motzi Shabbat. If they're not particular to pray aravit on Motzi Shabbat, yizharu shelo yasu malacha. They should be careful not to do any form of work. Ela acher sheyomru baruch hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. They should only start doing work after they say baruch hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol, or acher sheyavdilu alakos, or after they're going to do Havdalah on a cup of wine. So over here, Abotai, we see also a woman can technically say baruch hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. That's halacha. But the best possible way is she should hear it either from her husband, or she should do Havdalah on a cup of wine by herself. So point number 5, Kol Adam tzarich lahazhir et ishto ubenotav. Every single person has to warn his wife and his daughters, Legabi malacha lefnei Havdalah, that they should be careful before doing any malacha before Havdalah. So if the husband is not home yet, they should either say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, or they can daven Shemona Esrei of Aravit and add Atah Chonontanu and then say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, Tavo Alav Baracha. Or the woman can go ahead and do the Havdalah on the Kos Shel Baracha, or wait for their husband. And Rabotai, in this way, we're going to tell them again, Tavo Alav Baracha, that blessing should also come upon them. So Rabotai, let's just do a small review for today's class. For part 32 only, By saying Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol, even though you didn't daven Shemona Esrei, that allows you to go ahead and do Malacha. Malacha from the Torah, even if it's no mitzvah, nothing, Rabotai. Once you say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol and Motzei Shabbat, once the stars came out, automatically you're allowed to do all types of work, no problem. This is the halacha. Nevertheless, we did see Ze kula lasol malacha acher amira zo. It's a leniency which is brought down by many Rishonim and also Maran, the Shulchan Aruch, to go ahead and do malacha after saying Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. But then we also did see in point number 3, if a person went ahead and he said Atah Chonantanu in the Shemona Esrei, he's allowed to do malacha even though he did not say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. And that is the halacha, Rabotai. Either one of them is going to help you. Either davening Shemona Esrei and saying Atah Chonantanu, that's your Havdalah for doing malacha, or by saying Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol, that's also, Rabotai, your Havdalah for doing malacha. Again, Rabotai, only for malacha and not for eating. Everything that I'm showing you today, nothing's going to allow you to eat. The only thing that's going to allow you to eat is when you're going to daven Shemona Esrei, say Atah Chonantanu, and then do the kos, and then go ahead and do the Havdalah on the cup of wine. Then you can eat, Rabotai. That Be'ezrat Hashem, Bilinad will have to see it. Point number 4, we said. So everything up to now that I brought down on the previous side, that's all halacha, meikir hadin. By saying Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol, or by saying Atah Chonantanu and Shemona Esrei, those things will allow me to do malacha according to the letter of the law. Nevertheless, came Rav David Yosef and he said, "Hamachmir shelo lasod malacha ad she'amar Atah Chonantanu im Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol." One is going to be stringent not to do any malacha until he's going to say Atah Chonantanu in Shemona Esrei. Plus, afterwards, he's going to say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. We said Tavo alav beracha. Or one is going to be stringent not to do any malacha until he does Havdalah on a cup of wine. We said Tavo alav beracha. One more time, we explained Kol zeh le'inyan malacha v'lo le'inyan achila. Everything that we've been dealing today when it comes to doing Havdalah, either with words or in a cup of wine, that's only when it comes to doing malacha. We did not speak anything about if it's going to allow you to go ahead and eat on Motzei Shabbat. Point number 5, very important. Kol Adam tzarich lahazir et ishto ubenotav. Every single person needs to warn his wife and his daughters not to do any form of malacha before Havdalah. Rabotai, this is a very big problem. Many children don't know, many girls especially, many wives, though, they don't know that they have to say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. We explained that there's few ways they could go around the situation. Either daven Shemona Esrei and add Atah Chonantanu in the Shemona Esrei, that's their Havdalah, then they can do malacha. Or either they can just say the words Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol, then they could go ahead and do malacha. Or the third way, they can do Havdalah on a cup of wine. Rabotai, have a great day. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen ve'amen.